Today I'm going to be talking about the creation story of duality, and this is just a very positive and expanded view of why and what we're doing here in our bodies, right? And doing here on earth, and why all of this had to start. So beginning here, we have a representation of infinity, of all time and space occurring all at once, and all consciousness integrated into itself as a one being. And there was no separation, there was no idea of disconnection, there was no concept of being different than one, or being more than or being less than one. Okay, so at some point there was a portion of the one, there was a portion of the one infinite that wanted to feel and do something else than what the one infinite was doing at all times. It wanted to explore and do something that was of its own choice and deciding. And this actually goes back to a lot of mythology and even creation stories of religion, where there was some archetype or anti-hero or anti-thesis or enemy or rival or evil that started, that was basically, the whole Lucifer story talks about this, how Lucifer defied God, which is God represents the unified one infinite, and Lucifer was a rebel and wanted something else other than what God provided, right? So this one portion of the universe, of the one infinite, got out and started doing its own thing, and the one infinite loved it so much unconditionally, because what the portion that got out of the one infinite is absolutely and always going to be connected and a part of the one infinite. So what the one infinite did was love it unconditionally so much that it allowed that perspective and that portion to exercise and do what it is it wanted to do, because like a mother loves the child, the mother will always want what's best and what's in greatest alignment for the child that it loves unconditionally. So the child, so to speak, and the first beginning separation consciousness of duality started because the one infinite loved itself so much that it wanted to experience something else other than infinity and all connectedness and all unity. So then finite started happening, and the physical and the individuated, separated experience of being a human and being in a body and being, different phases of or portions of the creator, and different levels, if you will, and different quotients of light and different mixtures and combinations of frequencies. All this uniqueness started to happen once the initial separation occurred, the first one. And this first separation occurred, and then other portions of the one infinite started to do the same thing. More and more portions of the one infinite started to go out of the infinite, integrated, whole, complete idea of infinity. And this escape, if you will, or this, desire to experience something that was personal, that was individuated, that was separate, that was different than all that is and all that ever will be, which is infinity, which is no limits, no boundaries, no perspectives, no one way. It started to become, more and more portions of the one infinite started to expand and go out into their own expression, into their own desired free will exercise, and go out into their the reality and the state of being that they desired most to feel. Okay, and more and more happened. More and more portions of the one infinite did this, and now at this point in our particular consensus reality of Earth and human being, we now see that we are at this point where we feel so separated and so segregated and segmented that we believe that we are disconnected, and we're actually separate in the sense that we're not connected on a more subtler or more organic and more much more highly intelligent way than we are. We believe that we're separate brains, we're separate hearts and minds and like perspectives, all kind of like passing each other by, right? But on a much more universal level, we are actually all portions of the one infinite. So, and the one infinite loves us so much that it allowed us to experience. It loves us unconditionally to the point that we are so free that we can experience as much separation and much disconnection as we want to. And we can also experience as much unification and freedom and expansiveness and connectedness as much as we want also. So it's a complete choice on the individuated portion of consciousness, and they each have their own free will. So this is a great exercise for the one infinite that decided to start to kind of shoot off, and get out of this connected infinite possibility and start to experience finite and start to experience limitation and boundaries and regulations and rules and games and different blocks and limitations and different rules. So within this infinity and within the portions of the one infinite and the individuated portions, there is a domain where each portion kind of inhabits. So within this domain, there's 7 levels, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can kind of basically describe this. I hope this isn't too intellectual, but we can basically categorize each portion within 7 major distinctions of physical and non-physical. So the more physical and dense material-wise, the less dense and the less dense and light that is. So the first three the first three domains of this location and this, seemingly real physical reality, physical universe. Within this physical universe, there's various levels of materiality and densification of materiality, and the higher the density and the higher level, or the less rules that you have, the less regulations and obstructions, and the more free you are, the more light you are. The more, not only like light in like heaviness or light in weight, but light in the idea that more awareness can pass through you. Because what light is, before there was the physical manifestation of light, there was awareness, and that awareness, from awareness comes light. There was first awareness, and then there was a manifestation of that awareness through light. And the higher you go on this scale and within this domain, the more awareness and consciousness you are, the more conscious you are, and the more you know, the more you understand, the more that you love, and the more that you can see all for what it really is. Okay, so it's really about metaphysical science and not so much talking about the physical sciences, because there's a lot we don't know, and there's a lot still to learn. For those of you who think and praise and worship our current scientific discoveries, they're very limited, and there's still a lot to learn anyway. So, each portion of the one creator that came out of the one infinite is still a direct portion. It never will not be a direct portion, because if you are inside of the one infinite, there's nothing that you can take out or remove, and there's nothing that you can put in or add in addition to, because where would it come from? All existence happens simultaneously and infinitely, and it is only from these perspectives, these separated perspectives, where we get to experience that it doesn't happen that way, and that it actually happens linearly, right? Because all these offshoots of the one infinite are linear, and they're projectile, and their trajectories and their timelines, right? So that is kind of the basis of the duality teaching and the non-duality teaching, because once you understand that these portions that we all inhabit, that we all experience, are actually just portions of the one infinite that are having a experience that is seemingly different and seemingly separate from the limitless possibilities and limitless abundance and joy and freedom and peace that is within us all and connected to us. We just need to redirect our course and our awareness back to the infinity concept, and the abundance and the joy and the peace and the love of the unconditional love area of existence, and start to integrate more awareness and allow more light to pass through you, and more consciousness to go through you and not be so rigid on the identity and the particular perspective that you carry with you in each moment, because the quicker you change your perspective, and the quicker that you are able to break out of perspectives and go into a new perspective, the more that you learn, because you're constantly shifting, constantly transforming. And you might if you don't have the idea that you're not infinite, and you have the idea that you're finite, then you will fear and be insecure about this constant learning and constant shifting into new parallel realities, and constant shifting into new perspectives. However, if you have this idea that everything is one, and everything that will ever be is now, then you most likely, the more that you practice that, the more that you will become more integrated into the idea that you are love embodied, and that you are actually God, and you are actually the source within you, and you can no longer outsource. You no longer outsource through feeling separated and generating your experience from separation, and you start to source your experience and direct your awareness towards the identification that you are eternal, that you are one, that you are ever present, that you are immortal, that you are God, that you are all that ever will be and all that ever is. So we are so loved that we can feel like we don't feel love at all. We have so much free will that we can believe that we have no free will at all. And we are so free to do that because the one infinite is within us. So we are always going to have the choice and the free will of living that. And I hope that this makes sense to you and intuitively. And I love you guys for watching. So I'll see you guys on another video. Thank you so much.